My name is Paul Chandler. I'm 61, and for 20 years, I was the man who paid for a Christmas everyone said I ruined. This year, I heard my son-in-law tell the neighbors the family breathed easier when I wasn't around, while my card was paying for the party he was bragging about. Something in me went quiet. At 6 o'clock on Christmas Eve, my phone started ringing. The banquet hall, the bakery, my daughter, then one call after another, until the screen barely went dark. For the first time in 20 years, I had not shown up, and I had not paid a cent. It began 2 weeks earlier, at my daughter Diane's planning meeting. She stood at the head of her dining table with a clipboard, assigning jobs. Danny would move tables, Greg would handle the bar, Aunt Ruth would bring her pie. Then she reached me. "Dad, you don't have to do anything. Just show up on time, and try not to talk like last year." Greg laughed into his coffee. I sat in the chair near the kitchen door, the one nobody else wanted, and nodded. All right. What I did not say was that 40 minutes earlier, before any of them were awake, I had already paid the $3,200 deposit on Smith Hall. Nobody asked who paid. Nobody ever asked. Somewhere along the way, I had become the man who ruined Christmas. 3 years earlier, Diane handed me the ham 40 minutes before dinner and told me to glaze it. I followed her instructions. It came out dry. Before the guests sat down, the story changed. Dad insisted on doing the ham. 2 years ago, I told a long story over dessert. Greg checked his watch where everyone could see. Diane touched my arm. "Okay, Dad, let people eat." Last year, I could not even remember the offense, but by morning, it was settled fact that I had made things awkward. Then came the call. "Dad, since dinner got rough, would you cover the extra catering, just to smooth things over?" Every year, the same rhythm. Blame me at night. Bill me in the morning. I paid because smoothing things over felt like being needed. My wife Carol died 20 years ago. Diane was 18. Danny was 14. The house became so quiet I thought it might swallow us. Carol loved Christmas, so I kept it alive. I paid for the gatherings and kept everyone coming home. In my mind, I had made a deal. Pay for the gathering, and you get to keep the family. Nobody told me that was not love. At supper that week, Greg leaned back and looked at me like furniture. "Let the grown-ups handle things, Paul. You just sit there and stay warm." The table chuckled. Danny's jaw tightened. Ruth did not laugh. She looked across at me. "How long are you going to take this?" I had no answer. 2 weeks earlier, my doctor had shown me an image of my heart and used the word strain. Less lifting, less stress. My pension covered my needs, but every December, I quietly went beyond them. Then Diane mentioned that Greg had a project and Danny might help with a loan. Danny saved money in a coffee can. They had leaned on him before. Something settled in my chest. If I did not stop this, they would bleed me. Then him. For years, I handled the boring parts of Christmas. The hall, bakery, lighting, rentals, florist. Everything sat on automatic payment from my account, and every contract carried the same name, Paul Chandler. To everyone else, Christmas simply appeared. Diane took the credit. I let her because fathers like seeing their daughters shine. 2 days later, she asked me to drop folding chairs at her house. I carried them around the side and heard Greg talking on the patio with the Harpers. "Honestly, it runs smoother every year," he said. "Diane has a system." One neighbor praised the party. Greg took a drink. "Between you and me, it's better when the old man stays out of it. He just gets in the way. We carry the whole thing." Then Diane laughed. My daughter stood beside him and laughed. I held 4 folding chairs and felt something I had carried for 20 years quietly set itself down. I was not angry, I was clear. I left the chairs against the fence, drove home, and opened every statement I could find. I added up 20 Christmases, halls, cakes, lights, food, rentals, gifts that wore other people's tags. Each year cost roughly what a decent used car cost. Over 20 years, it was a paid-off mortgage or the retirement my doctor wished I had. I had handed it over one slice at a time and called each slice love. Then I asked myself the only number that mattered. In 20 years of paying, how many times had I felt like a father at that table instead of a wallet with a pulse? Not once. So I decided not to fight. I would simply stop. Monday morning, I called every vendor. "I'm cancelling my account. If my daughter wants the order, she can book it in her name and put her card on file." I did not leave anyone unpaid. I did not sabotage the event. I took my name off the bottom of the page. 20 years ended in less than an hour. The florist asked, "Is everything all right at home?" "Finally," I said. Danny came by after work. I told him about the patio, the contracts, and the calls. He put his face in his hands. "Dad, I've wanted to say something for years. Every time I tried, Diane shut me down. I'm sorry. You were one voice against a room. That's a hard place to stand. What do you need from me? Nothing loud, just tell the truth if anyone asks you straight. He nodded. Diane called Wednesday. The Petersons are bringing guests, so we need a larger cake. The florist needs confirmation. Can you handle both like usual? No, a small laugh. What do you mean? I won't be coming this year. I cancelled my bookings. Whoever hosts the party will pay for it. The line went quiet. Then her voice climbed. You're ruining Christmas for the kids over a grudge. I am stopping payment on a party I am only welcome to fund. By Thursday, cousins and family friends were calling. Selfish, bitter, think about the grandkids. For 1 hour, I nearly folded. Guilt knows where you live after 20 years. Then Ruth texted. I know what is happening. I have watched it for years. Do not dare fold now. I am with you. I put the phone down and let it ring itself out. Greg came Friday night. You made a commitment. You always pay. Everyone assumed that. That is different. You're embarrassing the family. The contracts have names on them. Whoever's name is on them pays. Diane carries this whole family. Then she can carry Christmas. I opened the door. Good night, Greg. When Diane went to Smith Hall to rebook in her own name, Sharon placed the full quote in front of her. Hall, catering, bar, lights, flowers. Danny said the color left Diane's face. Sharon pulled up the account history. Year after year, the same name appeared. Paul Chandler, paid in full. Diane stared at the screen. He paid for all of this every year? Yes, ma'am. Always has. She had never known the cost because she had never needed to look. That night she asked Danny to float her the money. No, he said. Same as Dad? Then Danny told her he still had a text she sent 2 Christmases earlier calling me a sad old man who buys his way in. Diane went quiet. Delete that. I am deleting it because I do not want to carry it anymore. He deleted it at my kitchen table. We're not going to win by throwing her words back at her, he told me. We win by being the people she said we weren't. Christmas Eve, I stayed home. I put up the small tree Carol and I had bought our first married Christmas. 1 strand of lights. A turkey breast instead of a whole bird. Across town, Diane held the party anyway, convinced I would arrive and settle the bill like always. At 6 exactly, the calls began. Smith Hall, the bakery, Diane, Greg, cousins. I made myself a sandwich and watched the phone light up the kitchen. Then Ruth called. You need to come down here. I already said everything. This is not about the money. The neighbors are about to learn who gave them 20 Christmases. You earned the right to be seen. I'm not coming to pay. I know. Come without your wallet. So I did. When I entered Smith Hall, the room turned. My empty chair sat at the far end near the door, exactly where they always placed me. Diane saw me and looked relieved. Dad, thank God. Tell them there's been a misunderstanding. There isn't. Her face tightened. You're doing it again. You're ruining Christmas. I did not raise my voice. I didn't ruin anything. I stopped paying for a party I was never truly invited to. The room went still. Sharon stood beside the bar with the account folder. I'm sorry. I need someone to settle tonight's balance. This is the first year the account has not been under Mr. Chandler's name. Every Christmas before this, he paid for the entire night himself. The truth moved across the room face by face. The Harpers looked at the floor. Cousins who had called me selfish set down their drinks. Everyone looked toward the empty chair near the door, then back at me. Greg's smile disappeared. Danny stepped forward. For years, the story was that Dad ruined Christmas. But the man everyone blamed was the only reason we had one. He paid for the hall, the food, and the lights you are standing under. We sat him by the door and called him the problem. Ruth joined him. Your father quietly gave you Christmas every year while you let people laugh at him. Then Danny looked at me. My dad never ruined Christmas. My dad was Christmas. I told the room the truth. After Carol died, paying for Christmas was how I kept the family together. But somewhere along the way, I began believing I had to buy my place at the table. I'm 61. My heart is strained. I'm finished paying to be the joke at the end of the room. Whoever hosts pays. I will still come when I am wanted, as a father, not as a checkbook. Then I walked into the snow. The party ended within an hour. Diane paid part of the balance on a card and arranged a payment plan for the rest. 2 days later, she came to my house alone. I saw the numbers, she said. I never knew. I know. I made it easy not to know. She turned her coffee cup in her hands. I'm 38, and I don't know how to hold a party I actually pay for. That was when I saw my part. Her cruelty was hers, but I had protected her from consequences so long she had never learned to stand. You'll learn. It is not too late. After she left, I opened my banking app. 3 taps could have rescued her again. Then Danny texted, "Don't do it, Dad." Ruth sent another. If she asked for money, the answer is still no. I closed the app. That was harder than facing Greg. Love sometimes means letting people carry the weight that belongs to them. The next Christmas was held at my house. No hall, no rented linens, no florist. Danny came with his girlfriend. Ruth came early and bossed me around my kitchen. Diane arrived carrying a lopsided dish she had made herself. No clipboard, no demands. She and Greg were living apart. Nothing was magically fixed, but she was learning. She had thrown a small birthday party for her children and paid for it herself. That night, my family put me at the head of my own table. Late in the evening, Diane found me by the window. "Thank you, Dad. For all those years, I never saw it. I'm sorry it took losing Christmas for me to see you." There was no favor behind the apology, no balance due. "I forgive you, not because 20 years vanish with one sentence, but because carrying the hurt was heavier than putting it down." She cried. I put my arm around my daughter. For the first time in 20 years, it did not cost me a dime. Here is what I learned. You cannot buy your way into someone's respect. You can only buy your way into being used. The day I stopped paying was the day I started belonging. For 20 years, I kept Christmas by funding it. That year, I kept it by finally deciding I was worth showing up for.